Hey everyone! For years I've been wanting to build my own cutting-edge PC. Ever since I brought my first desktop in 2018, a Dell Inspiron with an i3 core 8th generation CPU, and my first and only modification on it, a GeForce GTX 1650 graphics card with only 4GB of video RAM. So here's an overview of my Inspiron PC. The side panel has been removed for many years to fit the GTX 1650, and it's maybe shocking to many of you as for how many years this PC has lasted without much dust protection and simply by regular cleanups. So right now I'm gonna do a fusion test, and without clicking anything you've noticed that there's literally nothing in the background. However, a few seconds later it would crash. Likewise, if I load Minecraft, simply Minecraft, it would often lead to a loading screen. Then it'll turn black, load a bit, and then it would crash. When it comes to editing, so yes, if there's one theme that's common among all softwares on this computer is that every single software is out of date, and the Microsoft Store would keep crashing for any of the built-in software too. The most concerning part is that usually every software will always have this loading screen as if there just isn't enough RAM or there's a driver issue with the GPU and so on, just as I expected. So if for any of you wondering why there hasn't been any videos for the past few months, well, this is exactly why. That is unless I drop the floor and go back to non-editing videos. This would apply for Clipchamp as well. I can't even use this editing software. I had to use the Book 5 Flip, which I reviewed in another video, to edit that video itself. And look what you figure. As I figured, hopefully it would probably load if I'm lucky enough. And by the way, that means I have to shut down every software as well. Like basically almost no services. Probably shut down Steam, that would help a bit. VS Code can depend. Sometimes it would run, other times it just wouldn't. It really depends on how heavy the program is. This is a simple Space Invaders program made like over a year ago. And if I click run, okay, we're having some issues here. After a few tries, it just crashed. Yep. And this took around like 10 minutes to load up, and now VS Code just wouldn't load at all. Okay. So the issue is, I almost cannot do anything with this computer. I can't even go to the web browser without any of the tabs crashing constantly. The sad part is that I can't even run the majority of the small list of games on this computer. It just keeps on crashing. A lot of them are just too big for me to install on a 900GB HDD storage. And this takes account for me putting the lowest settings out there for visual looks. And still, like this truck simulator game would still crash before I make it to the very end. But today marks an entirely revolutionary day. After waiting years of trying to research the components, building the budget, and learning how to assemble a computer from scratch, I finally got my hands on everything that's displayed. This also includes the largest Amazon package that I've ever uncovered. This is actually for a new desk that I'm planning to put in right after I assemble the, all those parts into the S3 TG. Now, of course, we can't forget about the final piece of the pie. 2B4 helps to boost productivity. By taking this every morning before using the new PC, I can easily begin working on any delayed or past projects for at least the entire day and quickly get things done before the new year. For months, I've watched my PC struggled, crash reports, out of memory errors, projects I couldn't even attempt. Not anymore. Let's dive right into this, starting with the computer case. So whenever I'm working with circuits, I always like to put tape. That way I can just put the circuit in and they'll stay together. No, just kidding. So the reason why I have tape here is to simply remove any sort of particles, dust particles laying around here before placing that in. So this kind of helps to ensure it stays clean. I also forgot to mention that I had to remove this back part in order to properly put the motherboard inside. Yeah, this is pretty much the maximum size for a fully fledged ATX motherboard. So right here we have the motherboard, the ROG Strix B55F Gaming Wi-Fi 2, has some pretty cutting edge features that will be really crucial for this computer. Gotta love the AC sticker, but sadly I'm gonna have to cut it out, so. Okay, we got So for the main case, we have this moving Wi-Fi antenna. Not sure what this does, but I'm hoping it has Wi-Fi built into this thing. So my first step in trying to put the motherboard inside, it does seem to fit perfectly, but I do need to adjust it a little bit just so I can actually get this thing to properly get installed, as well as me having to remove this fan out of the way since this strip box, I guess. So we'll see if I can hopefully re-add this again. Up next we have the Ryzen AMD 5000. It's a 5600, I believe. Yes, 5600X. So it's gonna go well with the motherboard. Alright, so now we're going to dive into these two components together. The Corsair DDR4 32GB 32 MHz RAM sticks. Well, the Vengeance series, by the way. So, yep. And the Crucial P310 2TB M2 M.2 SSD. Next, we have the Corsair RM750X high performance ATX power supply with 80 plus gold in it and a 10-year guarantee. How nice. As you can tell, this was pretty much left in the closet for quite some time. I've begun looking up my parts for nearly a year now, and this was one of the very first few, I believe, that I brought in the last holiday season. Until I underwent like a nearly 11-month long hiatus to buy the very next few parts in order to finalize this entire setup. Streams of cables, okay. And the power supply itself. Okay. And put these out. Pretty solid. I will compare it to my older PC's power supply. Safety instructions, and this is just to keep oxygen out and stuff like that. Okay, yep, that is quite solid. Let's see what that says. Okay. On off. Nice. Okay, and don't mind the background. So yeah, this is my old computer. As you can tell, this is the power supply. It's very dusty. Not sure if you can see all that in there. Pretty old. I mean, it was originally inside this area, but then to add this GeForce GTX, I had to take this out and make this awkward kind of a setup, which is why half the case is missing, and that's also why this whole entire thing is covered in dust, which requires me to clean it every once a month at least. But I mean, yeah, just side by side. And finally, the GeForce RTX 5060 Ti. This absolute beast. Compared with the GTX 1650, this thing destroys it. This was also by far the most expensive, one of the most expensive components. Nearly $5,000 for this. I had to pull the wrong side, okay. Come on. Now the 1650 didn't really have a PCIe, and it was just mostly one fan. This thing, I mean, just to compare the size, if I could try to hold it correctly, I mean, yeah, it's like nearly twice the thickness in width and nearly as long as this entire computer. For those familiar with my Arduino videos, yep, we got pins. The funny thing was that before I made that 2019 video, I've actually unboxed the GTX 1650 Super with 2 fans, and that stuff couldn't fit on this computer, even if I decided to take out the power supply out of it. So we had to return it and get this smaller version at the end of the day, which took around 2 months later. So I had to downgrade because of the pure size and the fact I didn't have a PCI cable with it. Again, 16 gigabytes of DDR7 versus 4 gigabytes of DDR6, I believe. Now, don't get me wrong, the GTX 1650 was actually at its prime when I first got it, and it lasted for many years when I got to use it with all the other softwares. It just turns out that in these recent months, it just wasn't able to keep up with the latest softwares and updates, and eventually it just got overwhelmed. But seriously, back then, it was already powerful. It was ahead of its time and was the newest graphics card that I brought for this computer. So it definitely enhanced it, and that's what probably helped me kept this PC, kept the old Inspiron Dell computer for many years. And we're not talking about RAM upgrades or CPU, just the GPU alone made me just kind of incentivize me to just remain on this system, and that's where I edited all my videos or did all my gameplays or recordings on that single GPU. Throughout the entire lifetime of this channel until this very video, of course. So yeah, big respects to that graphics card. Alright, moment of truth. Let's see what happens. Okay. Nice. Okay, there you have it, folks. It's up and running. It's running good so far. All I need to do is make a couple of tweaks, and then we can get things started. Now, there's some extra details I forgot to, mention, but as I was taking out my old computer to get this HDD out, I just realized, yeah, that's how dirty it can be, and just how small this is. Which I didn't really realize, but I thought I wanted to show you guys. Like me just disassembling this. So still, when this machine came out, it was pretty robust with how efficient it was for home, gaming, and working. On top with the GPU added the following year, it further expanded its processing and graphical power that enabled me to create higher quality videos, play certain Steam games, 3D model, code any programs, and do really anything without much bottlenecks under certain circumstances. However, eventually its limit would be reached and would have to be properly restored. So the reason why I'm taking out my HDD is because, I want to bring my data, transfer my data to a new computer, but I don't feel like doing all of that software or wireless transferring stuff, so might as well just bring this with it. So if any of you are wondering what would happen to my old computer, I'm not really going to throw it away. Contrary to what you believe, what I'm going to do is repurpose it into a home server or a NAS. That way it can maintain its usage. It won't really be a computer, a home computer, as to say, but it'll still have like a piece of technology or hardware where it could maintain some sort of cloud storage or something like that. I have a few ideas. So this guy is staying. I'm just going to buy extra parts and new components, clean it all up, and then try to modify it again. That way it can get back to being used and a new different purpose. So that way it'll be usable again as a repurposed type of data center or something like that. Just gonna try to wipe this down a bit from all the years of dust it's been collecting. Totally can't forget about Windows 11. Okay, so here we're in the BIOS menu. I believe this is simply where you set up the entire system. You look at the specs, making sure everything's alright. 32 gigabytes, that's correct. Just making sure it goes over everything. Then we can install Windows 11 once this is done setting up. And here we have it, folks. Windows 11.
So that pretty much concludes this video. I know there could have been a lot more showcase, but this video has gone way too long than it should be. But eventually I will be streaming and making far more videos based on this and also on other sorts of content. So thank you all for tuning in, and I wish you all a fabulous holiday season.